Ayun, I hope na nakikita yung screen and nakikita na yung presentation. Una sa lahat, muli maraming salamat sa pagdalo at maraming salamat Mayor sa pag-inspire sa amin na hindi kailangang maging um, sobrang laki ng budget or sobrang high class city or municipality para masimulan yung journey towards being smart, towards being open, and towards being sustainable, especially in terms of digital transformation. Kung titingnan nyo, na-mention ni Mayor kanina yung about di ba, data-driven policy and decision making, yung importansya, yung kahalagahan nung datos mula sa mga tao, uh, hindi lamang para mag-decide ka kung ano yung gusto nila, pero para naling makita mo kung ano ba yung kailangan nila, di ba? Ang daming projects na pinakita ni Mayor about that. And isa sa mga gusto naming i-build or paigtingin sa projects namin sa Smart City and with our Teche, and hopefully with some of you in the future, is yun nga, yung pagpapatibay ng data literacy ng ating constituents, ng ating mga local government units, ng ating mga staff, ng ating kumbaga LGU in general, be it in terms of organizational and individual capacity. So pag-uusapan natin, mas maikli ito kaysa last week, yung tungkol sa data literacy. Ano ba yung data literacy? Bakit siya mahalaga? Paano natin siya makukuha? So data literacy and me. Again, kilala nyo na ako. Ako si Ben. Hindi ko na siguro uulitin. I've been doing this for quite some time, and this is one of my biggest advocacies now to help individuals, to help organizations, to help people improve their data literacy as part of Smart City, as part of the Open Knowledge Foundation, and as part as well of my consultancy business. So sa tatlong main roles ko na yon, data literacy is involved. Kumbaga part and parcel ng mga ginagawa ko sa buhay, kasama yung data literacy at yung pagturo, pag-share kung ano ba siya at pagturo sa mga tao kung paano to i-improve. So siguro let me start first with, I mentioned this last week and I always mention this every time data is involved, every time data literacy is involved, that the field of data is far too important to be left to data scientists. And sobrang saktong example yung pinakita kanina ni Mayor sa atin. Siguro naman hindi natin masasabi na madaming data scientists sa Arteche or si Mayor mismo ay isang data scientist. Although pwede rin sabihin ni Mayor na siya ay isang data scientist. Pero hindi mo kailangan maging data scientist para gamitin yung data at para magamit siya sa mabuting paraan. Hindi mo kailangan ng sobrang advanced na knowledge. Iba kasi yung level ng pagiging data scientist. It's more on statistics, it's more on kumbaga advanced mathematics. Pero yung wastong paggamit ng data, hindi mo kailangan maging data scientist para matutunan yun. Kaya kami sa Smart City, ang focus talaga namin, it's not just data science, although it's good. It's good to have data scientists, it's good to focus on data science, but our focus is building data literacy. Diba? Very similar to the concept of building, diba, yung basic literacy natin before ka, diba, sa math, before ka matutong mag-advanced problem solving, dapat marunong ka munang yung basic arithmetic, diba? Kung marunong ka mag-add, kaya mo na yun gamitin to build up para matuto ka mag-multiply. Diba? Ganon din sa subtraction, pwede mong magamit yun to learn more about division, and magsisimula ka sa basic stuff. So, yung data literacy, yung building block on how to become more, data-driven sa inyong pamamalakad. So but what is data literacy? Ano ba talaga yung data literacy, Ben? Kanina pa sinasabi yan. Hindi namin alam kung ano 'yon. Ano yung data literacy? It's funny because, well, it actually depends on you. What data literacy means to you. Yun yung maganda eh. When you talk about data literacy, it encompasses a lot of roles, a lot of people, at hindi lang iisa yung ibig sabihin ng data literacy para sa atin. Pwedeng iba-iba yung ibig sabihin ng data literacy para sa bawat isa sa atin. For example, in say corporation, tech NGO or any organization, may iba-iba kayong roles na ginagampanan, may iba-iba kayong tasks na ginagampanan, at iba-iba rin yung data needs na kailangan nyo. Kumbaga iba-iba rin yung um, mga bagay na alam nyo tungkol sa data na required para sa role na yon. Hindi kailangan lahat alam mo. O maganda kung lahat alam mo, pero hindi kinakailangan para magampanan mo ng mabuti yung trabaho mo. Kumbaga, if you're a manager, most of the time strategic planning, organizational development, yun yung focus ng ano mo, yun yung focus ng trabaho mo. But if you're in IT training, syempre mas kailangan ng ano yun, ng technical knowledge, technical know-how. So iba yung knowledge and skill set na kailangan mo in terms of handling data and managing data. So yun yung maganda. Iba-iba yung ibig sabihin ng data literacy para sa atin. But I hope we can all agree that data literacy is not just data skills. Sinabi ko na yun kanina and we've mentioned it many times. It's not just data skills. Data skills, it forms part of data literacy. But for a data literate organization, kumbaga para sa inyong LGU, para sa inyong mga offices, hindi nyo kailangang lahat kayo may data skills na matindi para maging data literate kayo, para maging data ready kayo. In an organization, sabi nga dito, that shares a culture of data and the vision for an open future, karamihan ng tao actually na invested sa vision na yun will have no analytical interaction with the data. Hindi sila magsi-spreadsheet, hindi sila mag-analyze. Especially if you're a top-level executive, if you're a decision maker. Yung analysis gagawin yun ng mga analysts nyo. Ang responsibilidad mo, ang trabaho mo as the decision maker, as an executive, is to see kung tama ba yung data at ano yung mensahe na binibigay niya sa'yo. Hindi na ikaw yung magtatrabaho mismo. But that doesn't mean na hindi ka data literate. And that doesn't mean na hindi data literate yung organization mo. In terms of an organization, data literacy means understanding, what data means, how to read charts and graphs, how to draw correct conclusions, and mamaya titingnan natin how to recognize when data is being misused in misleading ways. Pagdating naman sa inyong mga organisasyon, when you talk about data literacy, we have to talk about not just the skills. Ilang beses kong uulitin yan, it's not just the skills. It's also about your attitude. It's also about the social structures na andun. Protection para sa mga tao to learn about data, opportunities for them to learn and improve their skills. Hindi enough na meron tayong isang department na nag-handle nun. Diba? Data should be inclusive. When you talk about data literacy, it's not just putting all data work into one office, into one person, into one organization. Hindi pwedeng may monopolyo yung isa. Inclusive dapat tayo. Lahat sinasama natin sa pag-build ng ating data literacy. Why? Because that's a step in building data culture. So you may ask, sige, yun yung data literacy, pero Ben, paano namin malalaman kung ready na kami? Ready na ba ako for data or ready na ba kami for data? Again, ang gandang example nung binigay ni Mayor. Kung iisipin mo, 'di ba? Sila'y nagtangka, nangahas at gumawa ng paraan para magamit yung data sa ikabubuti ng kapakanan ng mga constituents nila. And when we talk about readiness for data, we can talk about two things. First is your organizational data literacy. Kumusta ba yung ating organisasyon, yung ating grupo pagdating sa kakayahan at kasanayan at kahandaan na gamitin yung data. When we talk about a data-ready organization, you can talk about a couple of things. Una sa lahat, yung pinakita ni Mayor, basically evidence-based decision making or data-driven decision making. Isa yon sa mga pinaka-importanting aspeto para masabi natin na ready tayo. We are data-ready organization. We use data as evidence. Pangalawa, we use data ethically. Na-mention natin yan last time. Dadaanan uli natin ng mabilis ngayon. We build and foster data culture. So, hindi lang tayo masaya na tayo lang yung nag-i-improve. Gusto natin sinasama yung iba sa improvement natin, sinasama yung iba sa best practices natin, sa mga natutunan natin. And that's a very important thing na dapat makita natin at makuha natin dito. Building the culture and changing the culture sometimes more important than all these new technology and applications na linalabas natin. A data-ready organization also knows its data. A data-ready organization also knows its data users. And last but not the least, it empowers its members to learn, to improve, and to share their data skills. Sabi ko hindi enough na ikaw lang yung nag-improve. Dapat yung ibang tao rin sinasama mo. So let's start. Tingnan natin pa isa-isa ng mabilis lang. First, we look at data as evidence. Again, best example na mabibigay ko is already given by Mayor. Hindi ko na kailangan ulitin yun. Isang mabilis lang siguro na pasada about data as evidence. When you use data as evidence, tulad ng mga examples na binigay ni Mayor, it leads to better and non-arbitrary policies. Hindi siya dahil lang feeling natin or feeling nila, yun yung kailangan nila. Meron talagang ebidensya na nagsusupport na yun yung kailangan. So to do that, kailangan natin ng sound theory, a coherent set of testable hypotheses, and a robust data set to validate and refine our hypothesis. Again, best examples yung binigay ni Mayor kanina. Yung mga ways by which paano natin magagamit yung data at matitest yung data kung yun ba yung kung ano ba yung saan ba sila magagamit na paraan para matulungan yung mga tao, yung surveying, yung mga experimental approaches, yun yung mga gagamitin natin dito. Quick example kung outside of ni example si Mayor kanina, when you're talking about the quarantine types in the Philippines, if it's evidence based and it's data driven, dapat kaya nating sabihin what's the evidence for and against each option. Ano yung parameters na pwede nating sabihin na andito tayo sa level ng quarantine na to. At ang mahalaga sa lahat, maiintindihan ba ng mga tao yung parameters na yun? Kasi kung hindi, mapapansin nyo, iisipin ng tao, arbitrary yung decision. Kasi hindi nila alam kung saan nanggaling yung decision na yun. And you can't blame people for that. If people don't understand why decisions are being made, hindi sila mali na tanungin kung bakit yun yung naging decision. Everyone wants transparency, everyone wants openness. So using data as evidence and being transparent about it is one way para ipakita sa constituents natin na hindi kami arbitrary. Meron kaming parameters, meron kaming reasons why we're doing this, and these are those reasons. Second thing, data ethics. Dinaanan na natin last time. When I talked about data ethics, sabi ko it evaluates yung data practices natin on how it can impact, 'di ba? Yung society at yung data sharing. So when we talk about data ethics, last week lang to, it's not just about personal data. It's not just about compliance with the law. It's not just about how data is used. And it isn't just about restricting data access. It's about a holistic view, isang pangkalahatang pananaw pagdating sa ang paggamit ba natin ng data ay makakasama sa ibang parte ng lipunan, especially yung mga marginalized communities. And that's something that I we should emulate sa naging approach ni Mayor Roland. Talagang lumubog sila dun sa mga komunidad na nangangailangan talaga ng tulong, and they looked at how they could use or utilize data to better improve yung nila, yung sitwasyon nila. And that's one thing that we should all, we should try to, strive to do. So when we talk about data literacy, sabi ko rin, there's this thing called data culture. Diba? Kailan natin masasabi na merong data culture tayong na nagagawa, or meron na tayong data culture? This is actually a very long process. Hindi mo pwedeng palitan yung kultura overnight. It's a long and arduous process. Pero mapapansin mo na nagbabago na kung yung pananaw natin sa data nagbabago na rin. So once data becomes integral to our day-to-day operations, hindi na lang siya, afterthought. Madalas kasi, or sometimes mapapansin nyo, mauuna yung project after the fact na natin iisipin ano yung mga data na gather natin, ano yung mga data na useful galing sa project na to. Pag naging baliktad na before everything else, you always start thinking about the data, napapansin mong nagbabago na yung kultura. And mapapansin mo rin na embedded na sa inyo, or parte na ng pamamalakad ng LGU, ng opisina, or even your own personal self, even your own person. Parte na yung data kung paano kayo nabubuhay, paano kayo gumagalaw. Again, no shortcuts. But if you would allow, tulad ng experience namin with Arteche, we'll be there with you every step of the way. Hindi tayo mag-shortcut. Gaano kahaba man yung proseso, gaano kahaba yung daraanan, makakasama nyo yung Smart City for that. Another thing that's very important when you talk about data literacy as an organization is knowing the state of your data. Nasaan ba yung data ko? Ano ba yung level ng data ko? Ano ba yung level ng capacity namin as an organization? So in this case, dito pumapasok yung isang ginagawa namin every single time we do a project sa Smart City, and that's data and skills inventory, especially for an organization or for an LGU. Ano yung data na meron tayo? Nasan sila? Paano sila na-access? Open data ba sila? Ano yung mga formats na available sila? After natin masagot yun, ano yung mga data na kailangan pa natin? Meron tayo nito, wala tayo nito. Paano natin makukuha yung mga data na to? Saan natin sila mahanap? Kung hindi natin silang kayang hanapin somewhere else, paano natin sila kukolektahin? And then you look at the skills of the people. Ano yung skills na meron yung mga tao natin? Are they good in, data analytics, data collection, community building? Ano yung mga data skills nila? And then you go down to, if these are their data skills, ano yung mga lacking na data skills na meron tayo? And ano yung mga gusto nating mas matutunan pa, mas mapalakas? Meron ba tayong mga makukuhang tao internally at first na pwedeng magturo nito? Or if not, meron ba tayong makukuhang pwedeng mag-share sa atin ng knowledge na to? So that's how we approach actually in Smart City when starting to build data literacy and data culture in an organization. We should always start with this inventory. Gusto na muna nating malaman nasaan tayo. Kasi kung hindi natin alam kung nasaan tayo, yung benchmark natin or yung baseline natin, hindi natin masasabi kung nag-improve ba tayo or hindi. So unang-unang pinakakailangan natin gawin, alamin natin, we have the self-awareness to think and to say, andito ko. Ito yung level ko ngayon. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that that's your level. There's strength in admitting na andito lang yung level namin ngayon. What we want to achieve is this. And apart from knowing your skills, knowing your data, you must also know your data users. And it's mahalaga to. Mahalagang tandaan natin. There isn't a single kind of data user. Hindi lang iisang tipo ng tao yung gagamit ng data. Hindi nga rin tao, hindi pwede yung machine gagamitin ng data mo. You're doing machine learning and things like that. Maraming kinds of data users. We should try to move away, from data stereotypes. And totoo to. I mean, you have to admit that this is true. Now, when we think of data work in the context of organizations and LGUs, madalas napupunta sa IT or kung sino yung marunong gumamit ng spreadsheet, sino marunong mag-program, and may concept noon, 'di ba? Yung may concept madalas na pag data person ka, nerd ka, wala kang social skills. That's not the case. We should move away from that. Data is very diverse and should be very inclusive. Ibang uri ng tao yung gumagamit ng data. At yung iba't ibang uri ng tao na to, may iba't ibang pangangailangan din. Tulad ng pinakita natin kanina. So, an important step in understanding or in building the culture of data in your organization is understanding what kind of data users you have. So, ano ba tong mga data user na to? We can divide them into four main types siguro. First one is the data curious. Ito yung mga wala pa talagang experience about data, pero naghahanap sila ng entry point. Naghahanap sila ng paraan para makapasok sa field ng data. Gusto nilang matuto. Those are the data curious. Then we have the data advocates. So beyond curiosity, nakita na nila kung paano gamitin, saan gagamitin. So gusto nila ngayong i-continue yung data skills journey nila. Mas igtingin, palakasin ang 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 data skills nila. And then you have the data active. So you go beyond being an advocate. You become active in the field of data. Ang mangyayari dyan, these are usually the people na parte na talagang trabaho nila at skill set yung paggamit ng data. So sometimes sa atin that could mean, our IT department, our planning department, or kung sino yung mga madalas gumamit ng data. And then you have, of course, the data ready user. Yung kaya niya na i-cover majority of the data skill spectrum. This may or may not be data scientists, but they prove to be good mentors para dun sa tatlong nauna. So, from data active to data ready, these are the people who can serve as mentors para dun sa data curious at data advocate. And how do you build that mentorship? How do you build that environment to do that? Through data socialization. Now, data socialization is about sharing, and learning data skills while fostering data culture in a safe environment. Hindi, sabi ko nga, inclusive dapat yung data. Hindi pwedeng dahil si ganitong department yung gumagamit ng data, siya lang yung marunong gumamit ng data. Hindi dahil si ganitong department yung nagko-collect ng data, siya lang yung gagamit ng data na yun. Mas mabuti para sa atin kung individually may data skills yung mga tao natin. Sabi nga, data is a team sport. There's no I in data. Halata naman, there's no I in data. It has to be inclusive. It's something that I really appreciate for organizations who do this, na hindi dahil okay na yung data literacy or yung technical literacy ni ganitong department, sila na lang lahat. Yung binababa nila sa iba at both vertically and horizontally yung skills. So, mahalagang isipin yun. How do we socialize in terms of operationalizing this? Simple lang. Again, skill scoping or yung skill inventory, tulad ng sinabi ko. Ano yung mga skills na meron kayo? Ano yung mga skills na gusto nyo matutunan? And then you have informal data working groups if you have time. Mga brown bag sessions, mga sharing sessions. Siguro mag-set kayo ng isang afternoon per month or twice a month, isang Friday afternoon, Thursday afternoon. Mag-share lang yung mga tao. Ito yung natutunan ko for the past 2 weeks. At ganito pala gamitin yung application na to. O ito pala yung may nakita kong analysis sa data natin. So, build an environment na masaya para sa mga tao at hindi you're not they don't see it as extra work, and they're not punished for being curious and creative about using the data, ba? Doon papasok yung pangatlo, put people before data. Create spaces for conversation, give equal opportunities to everyone. Hindi pwede yung monopolyo, hindi pwede yung iisa lang yung laging gumagamit ng data or iisa lang yung marunong gumamit. Create safe spaces for people to learn, and for people to share. Kasi I'm very sure meron kayong mga tao dyan na gustong mag-share ng kakayahan nila at mga natutunan nila. Nag-aantay lang sila ng opportunity galing sa inyo. So that's for what we call your organizational data literacy. Another one that you can look at is your individual data literacy. So, of course, having good individual data literacy is a great way to build organizational data literacy. So when we talk about your individual skills, your individual data literacy, may mga bagay na pwede tayong tingnan at pwede tayong matutunan. Una sa lahat is working with data using what's called the data pipeline. Ba? Yes, you don't have to be a data scientist. Uulitin ko yan lagi. You don't have to be a data scientist to work with data. You can be just you. And know how to properly work with data. Paano gamitin wisely yung data. Because data is a powerful thing. Di ba? Data is a very powerful thing. And if you don't temper that power with wisdom, then, data, just like anything that is synonymous to power, can corrupt you. Data can corrupt others. Data can mislead. So ang isa sa mga pinakamahalagang bagay na kailangan nating matutunan din in terms of our individual data literacy skills is when is it wise to use data? Kasi sometimes it's wiser not to. So isa sa mga paraan para tingnan natin yan is using the data pipeline. It's the approach by School of Data kung paano magtrabaho sa data. So it divides it into manageable steps. Right now, it has 7 steps. It's continuously growing. Kumbaga, it's a continuously growing workflow. Dati 5 steps lang yan. Ngayon 7 na. What we always say is, it's simple enough for beginners to grasp, but open enough for experienced practitioners to expand on. So, kaya sinabi ko, hindi mo kailangan maging high-tech data person para magamit yung data. So, the data pipeline basically tells you how to solve a problem with data by following just 7 simple steps. Define your problem, find the data needed to answer your problem, get the data, verify the truthfulness and the veracity of your data, clean your data, analyze it, and then present it. It's not linear. Pwede kang magsimula sa verify, pwede ka actually magsimula sa analyze. But at any point in time, pwede mong ilapat kung nasan ka sa data work mo, sa data pipeline. And you can follow along and finish your stuff. This is one of the things during my time with School of Data that I trained a lot of organizations on. And even right now, as part of my work as the data training lead sa Open Knowledge Foundation, we train people how to use the data pipeline to actually work with data. And I also bring that experience in SmartCT. Ito rin yung isa sa mga approaches namin. Again, na-mention ko kanina, data is very powerful and data can corrupt if not used wisely. And Ito yung isang example. Data can lie to you. Although, sabi ni Justice Tinga sa ponensya niya sa Antonio versus Reyes, statistics never lie but lovers often do. Sinabi ng Supreme Court. Unfortunately, with all due respect to former justice, statistics and data do lie, and they lie very much. But sobrang um, sobrang um, madali lang para sa data na magsinungaling. So let's talk about some data fallacies. Just some examples of it. First one is cherry picking. Ito yung pinipili mo lang yung part ng data para sabihin mo na ito yung nangyayari. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you have examples na pumapasok sa isip nyo ngayon kung ano yun. Okay, pag ito yung linabas natin na data, ito yung magiging narrative. So basically, cherry picking is creating a narrative based on the data that suits you. Hindi ibig sabihin yun yung binibigay ng data. Bawa, pakita mo na even if we have 1 million positive cases, at least hindi tayo India. So that's cherry picking. You're cherry picking data and information to suit your narrative. Things like that. That's a data fallacy. Don't do that, please. And please don't fall for something like that. As a consumer, always ask for a complete data set and ask yourself, ano yung mga hindi pa sinasabi sa akin? Be responsible enough to do that. And then survivorship bias. I'm pretty sure you've seen this on social media and on Facebook. You draw conclusion from an incomplete data set. Yung best example nito is yung ships, airplanes ng World War II. Yung bumabalik sa kanila, nakita nila na itong parts ng plane yung tinatamaan. So yung idea nila was i-reinforce natin yung parts ng plane na to para hindi na sila tamaan at mas maraming makabalik. Ang ganda nung counter. The person who actually counter that said, mali. That's survivorship bias. So ibig sabihin, yung mga eroplano na tinatamaan dun sa walang bullet holes, yun yung mga hindi nakakabalik. At yun yung dapat rin i-reinforce natin. So it's bad to draw conclusion from an incomplete data set. Again, as a consumer, ask yourself, complete ba yung data na pinanggalingan ng conclusion? And as a creator, ask yourself, complete ba yung data na ginagamit ko to do my presentations or to get my analysis? Another example, and I'm pretty sure alam niyo din to, Cobra effect. Basically, when you incentivize something that shouldn't be incentivized. Ang ganda nung example dito, di ba? Yung Cobra effect. Sometime in India, nagpalit sila ng Cobra for rewards. Dumating yung time na hindi bumababa yung number of Cobras kasi yung mga tao nagpa-farm na ng Cobra para dun sa reward. Diba? Happened as well for rats in Vietnam. So, be careful what you incentivize. Kasi what you incentivize is the thing that sometimes, increases. So, if you incentivize catching rats, baka mas maraming rats talagang ma-produce kasi may incentive to have rats. So, magandang tingnan ang Cobra effect in terms of how we incentivize things. And last example, gerrymandering. Data analysis can change depending on how you partition your data. And this is also true it's very, very much true for elections. In the top, black wins, pag ganyan mo siya hinati. Pero pag hinati mo siya ng yung bottom version, yung nanalo yung green. Even though majority, mas maraming black. So, gerrymandering is not just something for, it's a general data fallacy. When you analyze data, titingnan mo rin kung paano mo pinartition or hinati yung data mo. And other data fallacies that you can look at, false causality, Sampman bias, McNamara fallacy, publication bias, and things like that. Just some examples then. When you talk about individual data literacy, alam mo dapat how to make better data presentations or how to present your data better. So this is from PCOO. Vaccination rollout in ASEAN, they're ranking countries based on doses administered. So I asked the question, what's wrong with the picture below, or is there anything wrong with it? May mali ba? Wala bang mali? So ganyan nila rank yung ating yung country sa ASEAN. What I can say, and from my perspective, if you don't normalize the doses per population, medyo siya, fallacious. In a sense na hindi naman kasi pare-pareho yung population ng ASEAN countries. Yes. Hindi pare-pareho yung population ng ASEAN countries. So unfair na, of course, pag mas maraming population, dapat mas marami yung doses na ibibigay mo, di ba? It should be at the very least normalized in terms of population. Number of doses per population, for example, so per 1 million people, ilan na yung nabigyan mo, or percentage of the population. That would be a better metric or indicator. This is medyo bordering on fallacious. Ba? Hindi ganoon ka truthful, kumbaga. Ito pa isa. What's wrong with the picture below? Pie charts. Yes. Paborito ng karamihan ang pie charts, although I don't know why. Dahil siguro madali siyang gawin at reminds us of food. There are very special instances where pie charts work. This isn't one of them. Una sa lahat, sobrang daming slices. Kung titingnan nyo, sobrang daming slices. Hindi na intuitive. At hindi rin proportional yung ibang slices. So, kung titingnan nyo yung DOH at DOF, halos magkalahati yung value nila, pero sobrang lapit ng laki ng slice. Pati yung DA, ganun din. Ang layo ng value nila sa DOF at DOH, pero magkalapit halos yung laki ng slice nila. So, medyo hindi ganun kaganda. So how do you improve your pie charts? Ito yung how we improve it. Kung titingnan natin, basically, if you want to improve your pie charts, sometimes don't use pie chart at all. Especially 3D pie charts. So, nung ginawa ko siya, so pinalitan ko, kinuha ko yung data, pinalitan ko, ginawa kong bar. Feeling ko naman, personally, although you could argue against that, mas madali nang tingnan at mas madaling i-compare ngayon yung nila, yung budget na pinakita nila. Kita mo agad ngayon kung sino yung 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at ano yung mga amounts na meron sila. Just simply switching from a pie chart to a bar chart. So just some example things to consider. Always start from nothing. Pag may bar chart ka, start at 0. Kasi pag hindi, you're misleading people. Pinagmumukha mong ang laki ng difference even though it's not. Size matters. Kaya mas madaling i-compare yung bar chart kaysa sa pie kasi sometimes mas madali tayong tumingin in terms of length kaysa sa volumes tsaka areas. Mas madali lang for us to compare that. Don't go over the rainbow. Wag masyadong maraming kulay. Medyo hindi na intuitive tingnan, hindi na magandang tingnan. Save chart junk tulad ng pinakita kanina sa how to improve your pie. Don't put too many elements. Simplify it and highlight yung main focus nung presentation or analysis mo. In terms of numbers, always keep them right for easier comparison. And don't fall in love with 3D. It looks great. It's nice. It shows you kaya kong gumawa ng 3D, but most of the time doesn't really help. Most of the time it just adds more confusion to your graphs. So unless 3D talaga yung bagay like elevation or something like that, stick with a 2D chart. These are just examples. More of them are given during our when we do data trainings sa SmartCT on data literacy. Some examples then of free and open tools for working with data. Again, just some examples. Yung bulk nito on how to actually use them, we also give that as part of our data literacy training program sa SmartCity. So in terms of data collection tools, para mapadali yung digital data collection nyo, you can look at free and open data collection apps. Open Data Kit or ODK. Hopefully may mga gumamit na sa inyo. I'm sure may mga gumamit na sa inyo at least once ng ODK. And siguro Kobo Toolbox din. I'm pretty sure may mga gumamit na sa inyo at least once ng ODK at Kobo Toolbox. These are free and open source data collection and field data collection applications. If you're using QGIS, there are two applications right now na very specific for them. QField and Input. They allow you to bring your QGIS project to the field. So pwede kang mag-data collection sa field tapos update yung ano mo sa QGIS afterwards. In terms of analysis, napakadami. I'll just go over a few of them. LibreOffice Calc. It's the spreadsheet application of LibreOffice. It's a powerful, if not more powerful than similar proprietary options. Anything you can do in proprietary, most of the time you can do it in LibreOffice as well. Of course, if you want something cloud-based na madali lang din, there's Google Sheets. It's not open source, but it's free. So you can use that one easily and easily shareable then. There's Workbench. It's a pipeline tool, end-to-end data solution. Scrape, clean, combine, analyze data, and present them without code. Very modular yung approach. This is something that I teach as well in my data literacy trainings. Sobrang ganda. I encourage you to check out. Workbench. Sobrang ganda niya as a data processing, data analysis, or data work tool. And then there's Data Wrapper. It allows you to create very easy, very simple maps, chlorophyll maps, and graphs. If you remember yung mga graphs ko last week about sa inyo, yung mga outputs nyo, yung mga sagot nyo dun sa survey. Kahit yung pinakita ko kaninang graph about the budget, that was done in Data Wrapper in like a matter of 2 minutes. Basta meron ka ng data. Sobrang useful din niya. I encourage you to check it out. And this again another application that we also include sa mga sa mga training activities namin. Raw Graphs is something similar. Open source data visualization tool. If you need dashboards na simple to create, simple to use, free, although not free as in food, not really free as in freedom or open, is Google Data Studio. I'm pretty sure some of you also use it. I've seen people use it sa mga COVID dashboards nila. It's very simple to use. Kumbaga, kumo-connect siya sa Google Suite. So basta maganda yung mo with Google Sheets and stuff like that, madali na lang sa'yo for Data Studio. In my time with the province of South Cotabato, when we created yung platform nila for open contracting, wala kaming ginastos kasi gumamit kami ng lahat free and open stuff. Gumamit kami ng Google Data Studio for their dashboards. We used Workbench for analysis and things like that. So kaya mong gumawa ng platform ng dashboard without really spending anything. And of course, if you want to spend, there's Tableau and there's Power BI. Yun. But you'll be spending. So some comparison. In terms of tool, in terms of purpose, is it free as in freedom, open source? Is it free as in free food? All of them, pinakita ko, they're free as in free food. So, pwede mo silang gamitin without paying. But of course, a lot of them are free as in freedom as well. Ibig sabihin, pwede mo silang, you're given the rights to use them and maraming ways mo pa sila pwedeng gamitin. Hindi lang gamit. You can deploy them yourselves, improve upon them, etc. So, last na siguro, I'll just talk a bit about our data literacy program in SmartCT. So we have a general data literacy program for individuals and for organizations. So for individuals, yun yung training your skills, how to work with data using the data pipeline, introduction to open data, machine readability, and it will teach you yung mga pinakita ko kaninang concepts on yung do's and don'ts of data presentation, paano tayo mas gagawa ng magandang data visualizations, ano yung mga dapat nating iwasan na mga data fallacies, at training din dun sa mga tools na pwede natin gamitin, mga free and open tools na pwede natin gamitin in terms of working with data. Dun sa organizational naman, the approach is more less on skills but more on decision making, more on how do we read data as a as an executive, as a decision maker. Paano tayo hindi maloko ng data, at ano yung basic skills natin as a decision maker na kailangan para ma-utilize natin ng maayos yung mga data at mga data sets na meron tayo. Those are general, but we also provide highly specific sectoral and thematic training. So we have data literacy training for the youth. We have data literacy training for climate and disaster risk governance. It will teach you how to utilize existing climate and disaster risk data for your needs, and also empower you kung paano pa mas padamihin yung collection nyo ng data at ano pa yung mga ibang data na pwede nyo gamitin. Then may combination pa kami nun, data literacy training for youth climate leaders. So focusing more on the youth sector who advocate for climate responsibility and climate change advocacies. So yeah, if you're interested, Chris will will tell you more about how to connect with us, and of course you're very much open to connect with us at any time. Isa to sa mga namin, sa mga main goals, aside from aside from openness, aside from citizen participation. Isa to sa mga gusto namin gawin, yung palakasin yung data literacy ng ating mga local government units. So I leave you again with just a simple ask. A simple tool that anyone can use is better than a high-tech one that only a few can master. Hindi kung ako papipiliin, mas pipiliin ko yung bagay na madaling maintindihan ng tao at madaling gamitin ng marami kaysa something na sobrang high-tech na kukunti lang yung kayang makaintindi at kayang makagamit. So empower your citizens. Invest in data literacy. That's all. Muli, maraming salamat. I give the floor back to the host. Thank you.